And we are joined by new Danville head football coach, Steve Stonebraker. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Well, good morning, Joe. I'm doing well. It was a whirlwind of a day yesterday, obviously, for me, and just appreciate you having me on this morning.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Glad to have you aboard and talking to our listening audience, and texted yesterday, and I said, I think the listening audience will want to hear from you, Coach. And when it was announced that Steve Stonebraker was the new head football coach at Danville, you could see, Coach, the excitement, almost the glimmer of hope from people on Facebook to say, you know what? Danville got their guy, and this is a good one to have. Tell us, Coach, first of all, introduce the listening audience, those people maybe who aren't familiar with you. Tell us the kind of abbreviated Steve Stonebraker story and how you found yourself as the head coach at Danville, because your coaching career started back in the late 90s, and if I'm not mistaken, when Casey County named you head coach in 1999, you were 23 years old. You were the youngest coach in the state of Kentucky at that time, and you've kind of worked your way up, and now you find yourself at Danville, Coach. So give us the Stonebraker story.
Well, yeah, I've been a little bit everywhere, and yeah, you're exactly right. At that time, I was the only coach in Kentucky under the age of 30, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So, it was kind of taboo at that time to hire that young of a coach. But that program when I took over there was, they were 1-48 in the previous 5 seasons, and that's part of why I probably got the job at such a young age, because there weren't many people that wanted it. But got that turned around to where, my second year there in 2000, we had the first winning season and playoff appearance in school history there. And, went on to some other places. Been in Central Kentucky a long time at various schools. Was head coach at Garrett County for 7 years, and went to coach at Center College. I coached receivers there under Andy Fry for a couple of years. Then went to Woodford County, Louisville, Jeffersontown, and then got to Casey County and was there at that time for 7 years before going to Adair County the previous 2. And just really excited to be at Danville. A lot of the programs that I've taken over were in rebuilding situations and in places where the head coach had to be an agent of hope, so to speak. And, coming in at Danville right now, that's some of what we have to do and some of what our kids need. And, you talked about the positive vibes, and, I had some players at Danville communicate with me last night, and we were texting back and forth, and, they were really excited about all the positive vibes in the community. So, I want the people there to know that it's already hit the players, and it's great for them, and they need to ride that wave of positive momentum to get to work here in the off season to have a great 2025 year.
Yeah, obviously, Coach, at Danville, it's been the last 3 or 4 years or so. It's been kind of tough on the Admirals, one of the all-time great programs in state history. 11 state titles, only 6 other schools in the history of Kentucky football have won more state championships. But the last 4 years have been a rough go. So let me ask you this: what was it now about the Danville job that attracted you to this job, and why did you want to apply to be the head coach at Danville?
Well, tradition's obviously one of them, so you hit on that. The tradition of Danville football is immense, and something that I think is a great undertaking. To try to get back to the point to where we're consistently competing for championships at Danville High School. I think that challenge, obviously, I've not shied away from challenges, and that challenge is something that really drew me to the program. Obviously, the ceiling at Danville and with Danville football is something that's quite different from the other places that I've been. And, I'm really excited about that. Superintendent Ron Ballard and Mr. Pittman, who's the athletic director, Mr. Goodwin, who's the principal, those guys reached out to me, for the position, and I was very flattered that they did so. And they've got a lot of good things in store. I think one thing that we've got is we've got a lot of unity between myself and the administration on a plan to get this thing back on track. And they've got some really good things in store for the program in the coming months and the coming years to try to get us back going in the right direction.
When you look at this Danville team, Coach, how much Film have you watched? How much do you know about the roster? Because when you look at the roster, they've got a lot of playmakers coming back next year, right? I mean, you got one of the better athletes in the area, and Trendon Sellers, so will be back. You got Jatavian Beasley. You got quarterback Nathan Doyle, who made great strides in his first year ever playing high school football as quarterback. You got Jamari Johnson. You got Keegan Jones. I mean, you got guys at the skill level. KJ Dismukes. You got the line coming back. So have you watched much film on them? What do you know about the incoming Danville team that you got for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of film. And, there's no doubt about that I've done some research in terms of the personnel. I don't want to make proclamations in terms of guys, because that's probably not fair at this point until I see them up close and personal and see certain things that they're capable of doing, certain things that they may need a lot of help with to get better with, and those kind of things. But I'm excited that we have a lot of guys coming back. I think there's no doubt about that it was a very small senior class last year. There's a lot of guys coming back. There's a lot of guys that have experience. A lot of what we're going to have to do is build competitiveness and grit and those kind of things with our off-season program, and get ourselves in a better place to compete like we need to, and like the supporters of Danville football want us to. And that's going to be a big part of it. It's not just going to be the physical aspects of what guys can do. It's going to be the psychological component that's got to come along with that.
Do you think that psychological component is the most important thing for you as you take over for Danville, just to, like you said, get the guys back on track to say, you know what, we can win, we're good enough to win? Is that kind of the biggest thing for you to check off your box, number one?
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, two of the biggest things that we have to do is create competitiveness, and that comes along with really the second thing, and that's the macro piece of it is team culture. And the players are going to have an opportunity to be a part of that and be a part of what we create with team culture and what our core values are going to be, what our traits for on-field success are going to be. That's something I've always done, is allow the players to do that. And then we come up with a list of those things that are important, that we want to guide our program in terms of core values, and we want to have as on-field traits for success, and then we hold each other accountable for those. So I think giving the players a voice with that, you can never go wrong. And I'm excited about beginning that process. But that's probably as far as me and the players, working to move this thing forward. There's a lot of pieces to it, without a doubt, but culture is the most important one to get going.
With new Danville head football coach Steve Stonebraker. Coach, I think one of the most impressive things that I've seen online is when you were officially announced as the head football coach, and of course, rumors fly as well, and there are people who talk on forums, online, on Facebook, and your name seemed like it was linked to the job. But reading so many comments, and I talk with a lot of people and talking with people, and Coach, I can't remember reading one negative thing about Steve Stonebraker. And the fact of the matter is, I've read comments from former players that played for you. I read comments from parents of players who played for you. I read comments from other coaches. Everybody seems to love Steve Stonebraker. Just like players who said, you know what, he was my coach at such and such when I played here. He made me a better man. He made me a better person. And you've accomplished a lot in your football career, right? I mean, you're 18th among active coaches on the active wins list. You've won at places historically where they haven't done a lot of football winning. But I'm sure amongst everything you've accomplished, seeing players, former players, and those parents of the players you coach say, this is a great man, and if I had kids in this school system, I would want my kid to play for him again for 4 years. That's got to make you feel great, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, that kind of thing's very humbling, Joe. Reading through some of those comments that I got the opportunity to read through last night, it was just that. It was awesome to see, and especially those from the former players. And I've got two former players at Garrett County, as a matter of fact, that have kids in the football program at Danville. One has one at Dayton Middle, and the other one has one on the 5th and 6th grade team in the youth league program. And so I've talked to them extensively in this process as well. But seeing those comments and reading through those, it's just fantastic. And I think what a lot of those players would say, if they had if you had a longer time to listen to them, or if they could post a little bit more than a short blurb. They would say that some of it's tough love, without a doubt. But in the end, that they know that I'm somebody who does care about them, and I'm somebody who's going to push them to be their absolute best. And when you see those things, and knowing those guys played for you and sweat for you and bled for you, it truly does mean a lot.
Yeah.
And hopefully our Danville kids that I'm going to coach here in the future are going to say the same thing.
With new Danville head coach Steve Stonebraker, I've got a buddy who played coach at Center College when you coached receivers there. Now, he did not play receiver. He played on the line. But when he found out the news, he said he texted all of his wide receiver buddies that you coached there at Center College, and he said they're all stoked for you. I mean, you have people across the state, even I assume across the nation now, who are stoked for Stonebraker at Danville.
Well, that's awesome. And I haven't lost a game at Danville yet, so I'm glad there's a lot of excitement, and that's hopefully a natural thing when you get hired. But that there's going to be some rough seas here and there, and one thing that I've told people is obviously I've dealt with that before in situations, and one thing that I can promise the people of Danville is that they're not going to find anybody that's going to work harder for their young men than I will. And, through the good times, through the bad, whatever the case may be, I'm going to work for our kids as hard as I can and, prep them and coach them up the best way possible.
So when does the work begin for 2025, Coach, and when do you officially start at Danville and start putting that plan in place?
Well, I'm going to get in there today. This afternoon I'm going to meet the players at high school and then go over and meet the guys at Bate Middle and, come back on Thursday and do some things, but I won't be in full-time until January. So I'll be in January full-time, to really get the off-season program going every day and everything that we're going to do there. But I'll be there a couple days a week here to finish out this semester.
Can you give us any hints, or have you started working on putting a coaching staff together? And what is the assistant coaching staff? What's that going to look like for you at Danville? Have you talked to anybody yet?
Well, I have reached out and talked to some people. It's probably, Joe, going to be a mix of some guys that are there now and some guys that are going to be new faces. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a mix. I am going to go ahead and announce that Kelvin Turner, who's been the head coach at Bate Middle and has been there as an assistant and in different roles for years and years and years, he's going to move up to the high school, and he's going to be a part of the high school staff as an assistant coach this upcoming season for the foreseeable future. So I'm really excited about getting Kelvin on staff. And like I said, there's going to be a good mix of some guys that have been there, like Jeremy Vaught. Jeremy will stay with me, and Jeremy will be on the staff. He's a Danville guy, grad, and he's bled on the fields and loves it, and is going to do a good job. And then there's going to be some new faces come in as well. And I've reached out to some folks, and we're just going to try to finalize some things to get the best staff that we can together. And I'm going to take my time and make sure we get the right pieces in place.
New Danville head football coach Steve Stonebraker. Coach, we appreciate your time being on the show this morning. We are going to talk a lot. We, obviously WHIR is the voice of Danville football, so we call the games, Danville football games, home and away here in HIR. So we'll be talking quite a bit throughout the offseason and then when the regular season begins as well. But again, this excitement that we see surrounding Danville football, we haven't seen in quite some time. And so you're stepping into a place that is welcoming you with open arms, excited to see what you can accomplish at Danville. And Coach, before we let you go, what's one thing that you want Danville fans and Danville players to know about Steve Stonebraker, Coach? Kind of give us like some parting words about what you're going to do for Danville football, or what you at least can promise for Danville football you're going to do your best at.
Well, we're going to be Danville devoted, and everything's going to be about Danville. And the big thing about me is everything that I do is about winning, and we're not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect all the time. But everything that we do, whether it be a piece of the off-season program, a piece of the culture, what we're doing on the field schematically, whatever it is, it's all going to be about winning, and that's going to be the goal. So that's going to be one of the first things that I tell our kids when I meet them today is that we're going to win. And I don't know when that's going to happen. A lot of that's going to be up to them, but they're going to remember, those are the first three words that I ever told them. We're going to win.
Love it. Good stuff. Danville head coach Steve Stonebraker. Coach, I got people texting me listening to the interview saying they're fired up. They're excited. You got people ready to run through a wall for you at 7:30 in the morning on this Tuesday, Coach.
Hey, I'm excited. My fiance Rachel's excited. We're excited about getting into the Danville community and getting started.
There you go. Danville coach Steve Stonebraker. Coach, appreciate you being on. And, again, we'll talk, I'm sure, multiple times before the season begins. And looking forward to a great 2025. And congratulations on the new gig at Danville High School, Coach.
Thank you so much. Go Ads.
There you go. Appreciate that. That's Coach Steve Stonebraker.